Okay, and then the last basic that I'm going to talk to you about is the ground fighting position, aka the get-up. There are a couple different ways that this is done. Obviously, if you come from a WT background, you may have learned what we call the more traditional version of the get-up. We still teach that in the City Wing Tsun Athletic Association, but we also teach a more modern tactical version, and I'll just explain real quickly what the difference between those two are. In Wing Tsun, if you get thrown, let's say your opponent sweeps your front leg and you get thrown to the floor, you want to land in such a way where you're not using your hands in that typical kind of break fall style. Why? Because first of all, on the street, you don't have a mat. And second of all, if you're using your hands to break your fall, you have nothing to protect your face, because in a street fight or a self-defense situation, your opponent can try to stomp you. So this is why when we fall, we still use the very traditional kind of shrimp roll, where as you land, you turn yourself into a ball, you basically round your back this way here, and you want to avoid landing directly onto the spine. You're going to land a little bit off to the side. It's always a little tough to practice break falls because every time you do it, you run a little risk of damaging yourself or having a little bit of injury and being sore. So my advice for students when you're learning kind of a basic sit fall or you're learning how to break a fall is start on the ground already. Just do the part where you're landing so you get used to it and you get acclimated. And then as you become comfortable with that, you can start from standing. So the basic exercise would be to start on the floor like this. You're going to round your back a little bit, and I want you to just hold on to your knees this way here, and I want you to roll a little bit and just feel what that's like and feel where you can roll on your back and avoid your spine. Once you get a little comfortable with that, you're going to put your legs in what we call a leg scissor. One leg is forward, one leg is back. This is to protect you when you fall down so that your groin is protected and you have something in between you and your opponent. This is the leg scissor position. This is still very traditional in terms of the get-up. So you land this way here, and then you can kind of roll to this position. You can switch legs, roll to the other position. We actually call this exercise the up-downs, all right? And it's actually a full up-down if you sit all the way up. But from here, you're just doing this so you can feel what it's like to roll a little bit. If you give yourself some momentum, you'll actually move around in different ways. So maybe one time I might come here and I might come up over here on this side. And I might come back and stay here. And the next one, I might roll a little bit here and roll back and then go this way here. Don't worry about which way you roll. Try to do it in as natural of a way as possible. So that's the basic sit fall, aka shrimp roll. The next thing we're going to do is if we're on the ground and our opponent is standing up. If we're in a situation where our opponent has plenty of space, we're going to use the traditional ground fighting position, which means I have one foot on the floor acting like a steering leg. Now, some people can go in both directions using the same leg. Some people can only go in one direction using one leg. So however you can do it, you have to feel that for yourself. Your front leg is not going to be any higher than your opponent's knee. Your rear foot here is going to be steering and controlling. Your hands can be this way, and if your neck gets tired, you can even put your hands like this. And you're going to move. Your opponent is trying to come towards you. You do not want to let them get to the side. If they get too close, you can do a kick this way here. That's the traditional ground fighting position. Now, the one we use in our warm-up is the modern tactical get-up. The ground fighting position there is different. We call this the semi-crouch position. You have your hand close to your hip and the opposite supporting leg this way here. So I have left supporting leg, right hand. If you notice, the distance between these two is quite close. I'm not this way here. The further splayed out you are, the harder it is to get up. You want to imagine almost like you're on a lily pad, all right? So you're here, your hand is really close. Every time your opponent would get close to you, you're gonna pop up, keeping your shoulder down, kick them in the knee, and at the same time, have a defensive hand here. This is a bong sao with a bent wrist. When you have a bent wrist here, you don't have to worry about getting kicked in the fingers when you're on the ground. So that's why you're gonna see this bent wrist variation of the bong sao. I kick to the knee. In the traditional warm-up, we're going to do that 10 times. On the 10th time we get up. Of course, in fighting, you do it as many times as you need. When we do the get up, here's the trick. You wanna create a 3-point stance. From the side, I'm gonna get up and kick my opponent. Now, the trick is allow your body to face the floor. Many Wing Tsun people have a problem with this because they always think about staying square to their opponent. Well, this is an extreme situation. If I try to stay square to my opponent, I will never be able to clear my hip. So for a very brief moment in time, I'm gonna square up to the floor to create this 3-point stance. My foot has to go beyond my hand. That's the first point. Second point is I need to extend this arm to keep distance between me and my opponent. So as I do the kick, when this leg goes back, look at my arm here. I extend here to keep my opponent away. When I stand up, I'm in a much wider stance than we normally are in Wing Tsun. This is called a side frame. And I'm gonna use this to back away from my opponent. The idea is if I'm getting up, my opponent is most likely chasing me down and I need to get distance, so you're gonna get up moving backwards in a side frame. And that's the basic ground fighting position with the get-ups.